Welcome back to episode 67 of the Green Outdoors podcast. Changing topics a little bit, something I wanted to talk about because I found this super fascinating. So have you ever heard of the blue belly lizard or the western fence lizard?
I think I have.
Oh, them.
Yeah, well, if you are...
sunscreen, it's blue.
Oh, wait, they
lizard.
do something?
Don't take this from me. I did a
belly
lot of
lizard.
research.
Oh, sorry.
This is a thing.
I think I know.
Okay. So,
No,
if you're
you
from...
don't.
Can I guess?
Nope.
Please?
Nope.
Why?
If you are
Right
from
now.
California... Let me do this. If you are from California... you probably have heard them or at least seen them everywhere. So the little lizards that are probably in your backyard, they likely have a blue belly, are all over the place. Now, here's the thing. Those lizards are everywhere. They're very common, and there's a ton of them. And they're the most common carrier in that area of ticks. Ticks love them. They snack on them like their life depends on it.
I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you knew it, but you're going to let me do it.
I know
Because
it.
I spent a lot of time. So, ticks, Lyme disease. Okay, so let me break this down for you. There's a ton of them there, and there's ticks all over them. Okay, the ticks love them. They're one of the main hosts, especially for young ticks that are there.
Mhm.
Now, here's the thing. With this many lizards and that many ticks, there's almost no human cases of Lyme disease in California.
Oh.
So, first of all, let's
A
start
lot
out
of
with
people.
let's start out with what is Lyme disease. So it's an inflammatory disease that starts out as a rash, headache, fever, and chills. Then later, it could possibly turn into like arthritis symptoms and neurological and cardiac disorders. It's transmitted by ticks who pick up that bacteria from other hosts and then carry it on and then bite a human and then give it to them.
Mhm.
So what the scientists were noticing is that it seemed like even though these lizards are the main host of everything, or they often are the host of it, they were unable to give that host, the lizard, Lyme disease in their testing. So it was like they couldn't get him to have Lyme disease. And the reason why they tried to was because when they would actually pick the ticks off of those lizards to test them, they never found any ticks that had Lyme disease that were attached to the lizard. So they were like confused, like, why is this? Now, normally Lyme disease is in the younger ticks in general in California, and it seemed like the older ones weren't having it. So either the older ticks were getting rid of it just on their own somehow, or something about biting the lizard was changing that. So what they did was they did some big tests on them to try and figure out what was going on. Now, the professor who actually discovered the Lyme disease in the ticks in California was the one that kind of led this entire thing, because he was like, okay, I found Lyme disease in ticks, but yet they're never on this lizard, so what's going on here, and why are there no human cases? So he ran a study, and in that study he found that a protein in the immune system in the blood of the lizard was actually not only curing any Lyme disease or a bacteria, killing any bacteria that came into the lizard,
Really?
it was curing it in the tick too, because the blood would go into the tick
Oh,
and
yeah.
cure it.
Oh.
So,
Transfusion.
yes. So, that was super interesting to him. He's like, okay, we're solving it. So then they were like, okay, well, number one question is like, can we cure Lyme disease then for human beings? But they don't think they'll be able to. So it's a complex thing. Basically, it's not as simple as like grab that protein, throw it in a human, and you're good to go. The
You might be
entire
able to start regrowing limbs. That'd be cool.
the entire
One day.
the entire, I guess it wouldn't be the right word, but you could say like ecosystem of the lizard's body, that entire contraption, his entire immune system, the complex systems inside the lizard, it's like the perfect scenario for doing this,
Mhm.
and that we couldn't just take it from humans and do it. But the tick ingesting the blood in the right circumstance is picking it up perfectly, that it's curing the tick right out of the blood. So that is why. So what they did was they said, okay, what if, let's see if this will change if we got rid of an area. So they found an area and got rid of all of the blue-bellied lizards. They pulled them all out of there.
You just moved him
They moved, yeah, I'm sure. So maybe actually, I don't
Took it to
know.
the farm.
to
So-
the farm.
Some of the Farmer Brown. No, I have no idea what they did with the ones they moved. They got rid of them in an area to see, okay, if you get rid of all the blue-bellied lizards, then what would happen? Would the ticks find other hosts and then Lyme disease would pick back up and more humans would get it? Or would it just, what would happen? So they do that test. When they did it and they pulled out the blue-bellied lizards, The ticks, instead of just finding other hosts and picking up Lyme disease, just seem to have less success finding hosts, and they just kind of didn't finish their life cycle because they didn't
just adapted to eating
the lizards.
Bluebellies.
Yeah, so they really needed the lizards to do it. Now, there is another lizard there that has a similar, I forgot the name of it, but it has a similar characteristic, but it's super well camouflaged, very hard to find, more rare.
Camo-bellied lizard.
No, it's not. But they have trouble. The scientists weren't able to round up enough of them because they're so hard to get in order to see if the ticks switched to them then as well, because I couldn't find enough study to know that. But it seems as though the ticks just don't find other hosts in that area if they don't have the bluebellies. So the bluebellies are kind of like a double-edged sword then. Because they're there, there's a lot more ticks that are making it. But those ticks probably won't have Lyme disease if they interact with the bluebelly. So